Okay, let's not forget the difference between public action and sharp action, okay? I got a question about when to use reverse line movement and when to follow the sharp action when the high percentage is taking a team like Boston here and the line is going against and going the other way. Okay, so I have two ways of approaching this. All right, so my suggestion to that is stay away from trying to assume where the sharp action is, because let's not forget sharp action could be also public action. Okay, it could be mixed in one. Okay, just because you're following sharp action, that doesn't mean they're going to be right. Okay, it's a lot easier to have the thorough research and research why it's going a certain way. And my suggestion is to go against public action, because it's a lot easier to handicap those type of games because you know where the public is going to bet on. Not only that, but your other advantage is you're going to be getting the best of the number, the best of the line, okay? When you follow sharp action and assume that they're right, you're always going to get the worst of the number. All right, so that is one reason why I wouldn't follow sharp action, okay? In some cases, it's beneficial, but in other cases, it's not, okay? Now, I'm going to look at these two examples here and explain to you why these two games ended in one-run games. Okay, first of all, let's close out all of these other games to so they won't get too confusing, because I'm going to be going over 3 games here. Okay, so we got this Cleveland game, this Toronto Tampa Bay game, and this Mets Dodgers game. So these two games right here, these big favorites, are very similar. All right, so these are two games where you can easily predict this outcome and why the public was betting on these certain teams. Now, first and foremost, we got the Dodgers here with 73% and Tampa Bay up here with 79%. So the public is clearly coming in on these two favorites. Now, if you go back and do some research on these teams or these players, you'll notice that Snell is pretty much their ace here. Well, Glasnow is pretty much their ace, but Snell is up there with him. I don't know which one you want to call their ace, but they're pretty much their ace for Tampa Bay, being such a great team. All right, so Snell has been pitching pretty well lately, and you'll see this line going up, okay, at this public book, which is Bovada. Another public book is Sports Interaction and Bet Online, and the rest here are pretty much sharp books, all right, where they take big bets on these games. A lot of public action comes in on Bovada. Now, you'll see this line moved about 50 cents on the money line, all right? And then if you look at a sharp book like Bet Chris or Bookmaker, this line went from 230 to 270, which is 40 cents. So the public clearly taking the favorite here. And the Dodgers, same exact situation. The public betting late on this game, the night game, moving this line up this direction. Same exact situation where Buehler's pitching pretty well and the public is betting on the favorite. So you see how easy that is to figure out. It's pretty much common sense that the public is taking these favorites, guys. It's really easy to figure that out if you go back and do some research, okay? Now, the reason I'm explaining to you these two games here, and the reason why this line, these games ended in one-run games, is because there's too much liability taking these favorites. Now, if you look, this line was at even money moved to 110 on the run line, all right, and it moved about 50 cents on the money line. So there's too much liability coming in on both of these pools. People are taking the point spread, the run line, and on the money line. That's why these games are pretty much controlled. Like, they cannot pay out the run line and the money line on both of these games, okay? It just doesn't make sense. The books will be losing too much. They'll be losing 4 ways if these games ended in two-run games, okay? And if you notice this Mets game, Mets were up 4 runs going into the 9th inning. And if you monitored this Tampa Bay game, this game was pretty much controlled the entire way. It was a one-run game. It was hard for Tampa Bay to even score against Thornton in this game. It was pretty much a controlled game here. And if you just watch this game, um, it was just too much liability taking Tampa Bay here, and as well as this Dodger game. Okay, that is the reason why these books, these odds makers, they know what they're doing when they make these lines. Okay, and these lines work for Vegas. That's why these games end in one-run games. It's pretty much it's common sense. Like they're not gonna pay out. They're not gonna go 0-4 in two games. Okay, because they're gonna pay out two pools basically. The run line and the money line, and then here they're going to pay out the run line and the money line when the line is going completely in the favorites direction. Okay, so you still got to do the research, because in some cases they will pay these games out, but that depends on how these pitchers are pitching and the team itself. Okay, see, if Snell was pitching pretty poorly lately and he was pitching really bad, most likely if this line is going up, it's pretty much sharp action. It's sharp action coming in on that side. It's wise guy action, and that my suggestion to that is pretty much to stay away from it, because there's people going to be betting on that direction, and they could be right because of the fact that this pitcher has been pitching pretty poorly and he's due for a good start. Okay. So this pitcher was due for a bad start in this situation because he was pitching pretty good lately. So those are the things that you have to look at when you're approaching these type of games. That is why I recommend fading public action, because you're getting the best of the number. The open was plus 195 and it ended at plus 230 here. You're taking the run line, you would have won. So that's the one reason I would fade public action. And another reason is it's just a lot easier to predict, because you can actually do the research backing you and finding out why the public action, why the people are betting that certain direction. Because no person in the right mind that is an intellectual bettor, a smart player, is going to be taking minus 270 on a favorite here. Okay, so it's pretty much common sense. Now, on this Cleveland-Boston game, the one that I got the question from was, when do you know when to follow sharp action? When the public is betting on one direction here. For instance, Boston, they're betting on Boston here at 72%, and the line is going the opposite direction. So does that mean that you automatically take this direction? Well, no, it doesn't mean that, because a lot of these lines that move in those directions, when the public is when you see that number 72%, you assume that it's public, don't automatically line up all the time. Okay, because this is the unpopular side. So when you try to go back and research the game, you're going to find really nothing that aligns to taking this team. So that's why it's the unpopular side. That is why you don't follow those or try to assume that it's some type of intellectual bettor betting on this team, okay? Or bettors betting on the team, because when you go back and research it, you're going to look at the matchup, look at the player and the team itself, and you're going to find nothing, because it's the unpopular side. That is why the sharps are sharps, because you never can tell who is going to be right or who is going to be wrong. My recommendation, if you are desperately trying and you need a play to fade and you want to follow sharp action, or try to follow that type of action, is if you're trying to follow a line that is going the opposite direction of the public, my suggestion is finding a high market team to fade first. Okay, because if you're not finding that, it's really a 50-50 coin flip, because you really can't tell, because a lot of the times when these lines move in the opposite direction of the public, the unpopular side, which in this case would be 28% was taking Cleveland, you don't know uh, if it's if it's going to hit or if it's not going to hit. And when you go back and research it, you're going to find nothing, because a lot of these players or a lot of these sharp bettors are betting, and they have some type of inside knowledge. So that's going to do it for this video. So comment, rate, and subscribe. I'll be answering more questions. If you want me to make some more videos like this, I will in the next videos.